The drama between Yandhi and Rashida was supposed to be the main focus of the much-anticipated Love and Hip Hop reunion. But nobody could have predicted the chaos that broke out. What started out as a glamorous celebration and closure swiftly turned into an explosive disaster that left fans stunned and cast members reeling. Mandy's was not expected to enter the middle of a violent storm that would end with flashing police lights. And when security failed to intervene promptly, things took a dark turn that no one could reverse as fans watched the cast live on social media. Rumors, handcuffs, emotions ran high, and what began as a heated argument between old friends turned into an all-out brawl that shocked everyone on set. The tension was so thick that you could cut it with a knife, began flying, and the headlines soon confirmed that the unthinkable men from DC were arrested for allegedly assaulting Rashida during the reunion taping. How did things go so wrong? What caused this shocking moment? What does this mean for the future of hip-hop and love? Stay tuned, because you won't believe what happened behind those closed doors. The night began with a lot of excitement with the reunion. No one could have predicted how quickly things would get out of hand. From the moment Yandhi and Rashida locked eyes, there was a tension that made everyone in the room shift uneasily, and whispers began to swirl. The set was buzzing with excitement as the cast members prepared to take the stage. Fans had been waiting months for this moment, desperate to see their favorite stars reunite and work out all the drama that had been building behind the scenes. Rashida, trying to maintain her composure, sat rigidly on the couch while Yandhi made it a point to sit directly across from her, arms folded and eyes narrowed. It didn't take long for the petty jab to start flying, and he accused Rashida of talking behind her back and betraying him. That old wounds were about to be reopened, and not even the producers could have predicted how badly it would end. The audience gasped as the cast members watched anxiously as Rashida's so-called sisterhood for fame and followers retaliated just as fiercely, hurling accusations of manipulation and phony friendships into the air. The reunion host made a valiant attempt to refocus the conversation, but it was too late, and men who had been seated off to the side instantly grew. At first, he remained seated, his jaw clenched, his fist tightening on his lap, because he was tense and hated seeing Yandhi in any kind of distress, especially in public. However, when Rashida got up and walked toward Yandhi, pointing a finger in her face and raising her voice, something inside MinBC snapped. Fans who were live streaming the things happened so quickly that security hardly had time to react when MinBC stormed across the stage, screaming at Rashida to back off. She turned toward him, refusing to back down, and that's when the situation exploded. Witnesses said that he was seen getting up from his seat, his face twisted in anger, while some cast members rushed forward to pull MinBC's away. Others attempted to assist Rashida, who appeared stunned and enraged. Security eventually managed to swarm the stage, separating everyone as accusations, and screaming filled the air, and Yandhi was visibly shaking. The host's desperate plea for calm was followed by a blur of motion in which MinBC allegedly shoved Rashida so hard that she stumbled backward, tried to enter men's, but was stopped by crew members. Rashida, in the meantime, demanded that the police be called right away, yelling that she wouldn't allow this to be ignored. Backstage, tensions continued to rise as friends and family from both sides started fighting, with some even coming to blow themselves at the reunion that had been planned as the season's biggest event was formally over. But the drama was far from over. Within minutes, police arrived on the set, lights flashed, and radios crackled. Fans outside the studio started filming, as uniform and called for him to be banned from the show and even face serious jail time, while others vehemently defended him, claiming that he was only trying. Reactions from fans, celebrities, and industry insiders alike generated hashtags like ShotJusticeFriday and Shaka Freeman BCEs, trending within hours. Emotions were running high as producers frantically worked behind the scenes to figure out how to salvage the reunion episode and handle the escalating public relations nightmare. Rashida never wanted to remain silent and went live from her dressing room as innumerable live streams, tweets, and Instagram stories examined every aspect of the explosive altercation in an attempt to protect Yandandi and to show that the situation had been blown out of proportion. She told her side of the story to thousands of fans watching in real time just hours after the incident, her face still red with emotion, as she insisted that she had never physically threatened Yandi and accused Mendes of overreacting and attacking her without cause. She also promised that she would file full charges and take the matter to court if necessary, saying, "I'm not going to let this man think he can put his hands on me." Yandandi, for her part, also took to social media to post a tearful video defending Mendes's and urging fans to understand the situation. "He was just trying to protect me," she sobbed, wiping away her tears. "But things got out of control. But he's not a bad person. He's not a violent man," she said, her voice shaking with anger. As the evening went on, more information surfaced, revealing that tensions between Yandandi and Rashida had been escalating for months due to the powder cake that finally exploded during the reunion was the result of behind-the-scenes drama that never made it onto the show. Jealousies, betrayals, and covert alliances had all contributed to it. Cast members who had previously been friends were now picking sides, and the entire Love and Hip Hop family appeared to be on the edge of disintegration. Menix spent the night in jail on assault charges, and awaiting he had worked so hard to rebuild his life after past legal issues, and now it seemed like everything was at risk again. According to sources close to him, he was devastated by what had happened and extremely concerned about the impact on his family and career. Meanwhile, Yandandi was reportedly distraught, blaming herself for the entire situation and terrified about what the future would bring. Outside the courthouse, a small group of supporters gathered the following morning with signs and slogans in favor of men. The media poured in, cameras flashing, and Yandi arrived looking exhausted but determined. Rashida too appeared with her team by her side, her face hard and unreadable. Tension was high as everyone awaited the next development in this drama. And when the judge announced Men vs. case, the courtroom fell silent, leaving fans worldwide holding their breath in anticipation of what would happen next. The courtroom was packed, with every seat occupied by reporters, fans, and worried relatives who had come to watch. Across the aisle, Rashida watched with a steely gaze that refused to show even the slightest hint of emotion. It would undoubtedly be one of the most shocking moments in hip-hop and love history, as Men DC stood before the judge with his head slightly bowed and the weight of the situation evident on his face. Meanwhile, Yandandi sat in the front row with her hands clasped tightly in her lap and tears that threatened to spill at any moment. Without hesitation or fear, the prosecutor quickly painted a vivid picture of what happened during the reunion, taping characterizing Mendes's actions as dangerous and aggressive. Rashima's team had supplied backstage video footage that demonstrated the moment Menzies rushed forward and shoved her, the prosecutor stressed. DC's defense lawyer, however, presented a completely different picture, insisting that Men had acted in a moment outside the courthouse, Rashida spoke to the crowd for a brief moment, adamant that she would not be intimidated and would see this case through to the end. "Nobody, no matter how famous they are, gets to put their hands on me without consequences," she said in an unwavering voice, while Yandy's social media exploded once more after she was taken away by security to protect her face from the constant cameras. Fans analysed every aspect of the court proceedings, questioning whether Mensch had actually intended to hurt Rashida or if he had lost control in a heated moment. Celebrities also started to weigh in, with some strongly supporting Yandy and Mensch, and others supporting Rashida. Friendships broke down as a result of the drama, and behind-the-scenes Love and Hip Hop producers faced a nightmare. The reunion episode was meant to be the season's high point, but now they were dealing with a real criminal case that was directly related to their show. Rumors circulated that the network was thinking of cancelling the episode, entirely out of concern for the negative reaction. Mendes, now out on bail, withdrew to a private place with Yandy and their family. On the advice of his lawyers, Hitz refused to speak publicly, but those close to him described him as devastated. Contracts were being reviewed, meetings were held late into the night, and the franchise's future appeared to be in the balance. One friend repeatedly expressed his wish that he could take it back, saying that he never intended to hurt anyone, but he snapped because he believed Yandy was in danger at home. The atmosphere was gloomy, and although Yandy tried to be strong for her kids, the fear and uncertainty consumed her all the time. Would Meneses return to prison? Would their family be split apart again after so much effort to rebuild everything? Media was relentlessly digging into their past, rehashing old charges, and portraying Mendes as a repeat offender. Rashida, on the other hand, leaned into the spotlight and gave exclusive interviews detailing her side of the story, emphasizing her belief that no woman should ever have to fear for her safety, especially in a professional setting. When her phone buzzed with a new alert, her heart leaped into her throat. Brands and organizations that supported women's empowerment reached out to her, offering her platforms to share her experience and advocate for change. As the days went by, more revelations surfaced, including leaked messages indicating that there had been simmering tensions between Yandy and Rashida long before the reunion. Insiders claimed that producers were aware of the animosity and had purposefully put Yandy and Rashida on stage together in the hopes of generating fireworks to increase ratings. This revelation sparked an even greater uproar. Accusations of treachery, jealousy over endorsement deals, and even personal slights involving family members had all contributed to the powder cake atmosphere. In response to growing pressure, the network issued a well-crafted statement expressing regret for the incident and promising to review safety procedures going forward. Fans accused the network of putting the cast in danger for dramatic effect, putting profits ahead of people's safety, and even calling for the show's boycott. However, for Mendes, the harm was already done. His reputation was already shaky due to his previous legal issues. Endorsement deals were halted, partnerships were re-evaluated, and there was even speculation that the network might cut off all contact. The men's legal team rushed to put together a defense, assembling character witnesses, expert testimony, and any other evidence that could cast doubt on Rashida's account of events. The stakes could not have been higher. Fans eagerly studied every leaked court document, cryptic Instagram post, and insider rumor, wondering if Mendes would be able to handle the situation. The fate of men, as well as possibly the future of Love and hip-hop itself, hung in the balance. The trial's morning dawned grey and heavy, as if the sky itself understood the weight of what was about to unfold. Did he redeem himself? Or was this the end of the road for one of reality TV's most complicated stars? Tensions only increased as the trial date drew closer. Emotions became more volatile and the drama became more explosive. Crowds gathered outside. Hours before the proceedings were scheduled to start, reporters scurried for position in the courthouse, hoping to get a glimpse of the two main players in this real-life drama that had captivated the country. Tension inside the building crackled like static electricity, making even the smallest movements feel. Moments later, Rashida entered, flanked by her family members. The important men arrived first, dressed in a simple dark suit, their faces somber but composed, and Nyandandi was by his side, her hand tightly gripping his, offering silent strength behind them. The trial started with opening statements that immediately set the tone for the battle ahead. Rasiva's lawyer portrayed her as calm and defiant, and she wore a crisp white outfit. Their eyes briefly met across the courtroom, and the air between them seemed to freeze thick with unspoken anger and betrayal. He spoke passionately about the need for public figures to set an example, and contended that allowing men to get away with it would send a dangerous message to fans and viewers worldwide. Mendice's lawyer responded with a story of miscommunication and misplaced loyalty, highlighting the physical and emotional toll the incident had taken on the victim, who had been attacked without provocation. He reminded the jury of Mendes' attempts to change his life after past mistakes and urged them to take the context into consideration, rather than passing judgment on him based on a single heated moment. Witnesses started to testify, each one adding new layers of complexity to the already convoluted story. He had acted out of fear for Yandi's safety, reacting instinctively to a perceived threat. Backstage crew members described under cross-examination. One producer acknowledged that tensions between cast members had been purposefully heightened to heighten drama for the cameras. Another crew member claimed to have heard Rashida threatening Nyandandi earlier in the evening, though he appeared unsure of the exact words due to intense questioning. Rashida herself was a strong presence on the stage, speaking passionately and clearly about the fear she experienced when men from DC rushed toward her. She detailed the physical impact, shock, and humiliation of being attacked in front of her peers and a national audience, and her voice broke as she related the events that followed. The room held its breath when it was Menzies' turn to testify. He spoke slowly, carefully choosing his words, and he expressed deep regret for his actions, apologizing directly to Rashida and the court. The tears that welled in her eyes during the sleepless nights and the public scrutiny were a testament to her determination not to appear weak. Once again, cross-examination was harsh. Rashida's lawyer questioned Menezes about his prior legal issues, implying a pattern of impulsive, violent behavior. He clarified that he had not seen Rashida's precise movements, but had taken her approach toward Yandi as a threat. He acknowledged that he should have handled the situation differently when discussing the fear of being separated from his children. Mendices struggled to remain composed under the barrage of accusations, his hands clenching and unclenching on the witness stand. Outside the courtroom, the media frenzy reached new heights, with every detail of the trial being discussed and debated across social media platforms, news outlets, and entertainment blogs. It was unclear whether Menk genuinely felt regret or was merely attempting to avoid consequences. In the midst of the chaos, private unless Menzies publicly acknowledged their wrongdoing and accepted heavy penalties, while Mendices were hesitant to enter a guilty plea to a violent crime that he maintained he had not intended to commit because the trial was still ongoing. As new bombshells were dropped, leaked video from a different angle appeared online, revealing the events leading up to the altercation in greater detail. The video seemed to show that Rashida had indeed approached Yandi aggressively, though it was up for debate whether or not this constituted a real threat. When it was submitted, the video sparked controversy in the courtroom and on the internet. Legal experts conjectured, concerned that her presence would be too divisive, rekindling tensions that could no longer be controlled behind closed doors. Some cast members took sides, widening the rifts already present in the group. Alliances quickly shifted, friendships broke down, and new rivalries arose. And you found yourself cut off from old friends who thought Mineshi had crossed an unforgivable line. Amidst the chaos, a shocking development surfaced. Private messages between Rashida and a senior producer were leaked online, implying that some of the scenes leading up to the reunion had been staged to create drama, but that didn't justify the violence. Rashida also faced criticism from those who believed she was using the situation for sympathy and influence, brought to light the poisonous atmosphere that had sparked the altercation. Fans were split once more, with some calling for justice for men VCs and others strengthening their support for Rashida. As the day of sentencing drew near, the stakes increased even further, with men VCs facing the prospect of community service, probation, or jail time. His attorneys fought tirelessly to defend him. Advocacy groups pushed for a harsher sentence, arguing that celebrities shouldn't be given a free pass for violent behavior inside their homes, while letters of support poured in from fans, family members, and even some former critics who believe he deserved a second chance, citing his charitable work and efforts to be a positive influence in his community. Mindy's and Yande's struggled to keep their kids feeling normal by protecting them from the worst of the media attention. But the strain was unavoidable. Nights were full of hushed talks, tears, and prayers, and they frequently stayed up late. Her mind was racing with concern and fear as she stayed up late reading endless articles and posts on social media. Tried to be resilient, but Rashida also struggled with the guilt and worry that he knew were constant. Despite the fact that many commended her bravery, she battled her own demons online. The stress caused by threats and harassment from those who thought she had destroyed a man's life had a negative impact on her health and her connections. She stopped going to public events and instead concentrated on her family and business endeavors. Although the incident's shadow hung heavy, serving as a continual reminder of how easily things could get out of hand. When the day of sentencing eventually came, it seemed like everyone was watching. Fans and reporters crowded the courtroom once more, eagerly awaiting the judge's every word as he acknowledged the intricacy of the circumstance, acknowledging both men's regret and the gravity of his following a protracted, uncomfortable pause. He sentenced the defendant to a year of 200 hours of community service and required anger management seminars are part of probation. Service, if Menick fulfilled the conditions for the misdemeanor conviction, might ultimately be removed from his record. The response was swift and furious, with supporters of Mindis praise the light punishment, viewing it as a man's second chance, who had put a lot of effort into changing his life. But his detractors were furious and accused the system that once again prioritizes debates between superstars and regular people heatedly debated each side on social media, discussion shows, and news programs. Yandi and men's points of view were argued, and the sentence was a bittersweet one. Relief as they were spared the agony of going to jail, which would have harmed their relationships and reputations. Declared intentions to start a new project centered on raising awareness of mental health issues and dispute resolution. Rashida also spoke forward, wanting to use their suffering as a springboard for education and healing, expressing gratitude to her supporters and urging others to speak out against violence in a stirring video message. She, despite acknowledging the complexities of the situation, she was adamant that accountability was crucial. Her message struck a chord with many people seeking genuine healing, garnering recognition for its elegance and fortitude. As the weeks went by, the Love and Hip Hop series found it difficult to producers redesign the forthcoming season in an attempt to move past the incident, promising an increasing emphasis on genuine narratives of character development and atonement. Some cast members discreetly left the show unable or unwilling to overcome the rifts caused by the tragedy. Fresh faces were introduced. An new story started to emerge, one that would examine the effects of celebrity, the demands of public life, and for men's the rope, the path to forgiveness.